What happened to the countdown?
Oh, I don't know. I think it started though.
I feel cheated.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Okay, well, welcome to the live.
Hello.
Another episode of Middle Ground with JL Lee, LLC, where we treat you like family. Have an awesome guest. We have Nurse Jelly,
Hey.
owner of Angelic Pathway.
There we go.
All
Yep.
right.
Angelic
There you
Pathway.
go.
Yep.
So tell the audience a little about yourself.
Well, my name is Angelica. My friends call me Jelly, and I go by Nurse Jelly. I can tell you that I am a nurse and that I've started my own business as a cannabis nurse. That really stemmed from my history with having severe PTSD. And I discovered cannabis when I was caring for my sick family member who had cancer. So I was taking care of her, and I was a nurse, and she passed away in December. But what she really tried to tell me was I really needed to go after my dream. So I found that cannabis was extremely therapeutic for myself. She preferred it over her chemo. And so she told me to go after my dreams, and I did. So I started Angelic Pathways, and it's really my cannabis nursing company. This is my spin on it. And yeah, my PTSD does stem from me being a sister survivor. I am a survivor of the Larry Nassar scandal. So I've also taken time to really try and advocate for survivors of sexual assault. So my journey has led me to this point, but I've been through a lot of things in my adult life and in my nursing career.
How long have you been a nurse?
I've been a nurse for 2.5 years. I was a paramedic before that, though.
Wow.
And I started working in healthcare my freshman year when I was at the University of Pittsburgh. I worked at a level 1 trauma center in a emergency room. And that was really interesting because I got to see what nurses really did behind the scenes very early on in college. So it was just natural. I kind of ended up in this career.
Okay. So since you started your company, what have been some obstacles?
Oh boy. Well, if anybody knows a nurse, or if you are a nurse and you're watching this, working on your own business is not the same as working in a hospital. And I would not expect it to be, but what I've really found challenging is having to pivot. With cannabis nursing, a lot of the laws for marijuana are state to state. So that can create a lot of challenges for what you can and can't do. And your license also plays a role into that as well. So over the last couple weeks, I've been kind of starting and stopping because
Mhm.
it's like I think I have a good groove, but then I have an obstacle, and then I have to pivot. So right now, I've been spending a lot of time on my website. It's almost finished.
Okay, what's the
And
name of it?
say it again.
What's the name of it?
Oh, well, I can't give it up yet, but it's going to be called www.angelicpathway.com, but it is not finished. um,
Okay.
so I'm still working on it. It is in the process, but it's a work in progress, and it's been really challenging to really figure out what the needs are, whether it's from medicinal cannabis patients or from nurses who want to change careers. It's been really interesting to see who's been interested and who's been intrigued. So it's also kind of nerve wracking. I think that's another challenge I've been dealing with, is that I don't want to make the wrong move. And it's
Hmm.
finally gotten to that point where it's like you have to start moving to know where to go. So it's been a huge learning curve for me, but I'm really excited for where I'm going.
Now, what is the process to get into that for cannabis?
Well, so to get into cannabis nursing, it's a very loaded question. Are there certificates for cannabis nurses? Yes, there are several, and I actually do teach a specific course called CanSum. It is the first cannabis certification that was approved by the American Nurses Holistic Association. So this program has been around for a very long time. It was created by a nurse named Lolita. She created the course. When I took the course, it was extremely engaging. And as an ICU nurse, as my background, I really wanted to know the pathophysiology behind it and how does it really help the body? What does holistic health mean? And I think any nurse that is looking into this role, the field is wide open. There's just really there are nurses out there that do cannabis nursing, but there are so many different types of cannabis nurses out there. Just because you may feel like somebody may be doing your idea, I can guarantee you they are not. They're not you. And that would be my suggestion, is to really do your research. Do your research in your local community and the state that you live in. That's definitely one of the learning curves that I encountered, is that I was in California before taking care of my cousin, and, it's recreational. It's very open over there, and people incorporate it with end of life out in California. It is a very different state than on the East Coast. So that is just.
Yeah, it took a while for them to say you can go ahead and legally do.
Right. And even within the medicinal market. So I would say to any nurse who is looking into getting into this role, do your research, look at your community, look at the things in your community that you see are lacking when it comes to cannabis care. And then obviously I'm going to say, check out the CanSum course. I do teach it. I am a CanSum approved instructor. So that course will be available when I launch.
Okay. Now, what are some of the healing properties of cannabis?
Well, so we have to talk about your system first. So do you know what system helps digest cannabis when you ingest it?
Mm-mm.
So there is a system called the endocannabinoid system. Have you ever heard that system?
Nah.
So the endocannabinoid system is a organ system that we have. It's a newer system. There haven't been a lot of studies on it because cannabis is Schedule 1. So really having any sound clinical backing behind how the endocannabinoid system benefits our health, that's very limited, right? But what I can tell you is that our endocannabinoid system is an incredible organ. And I hope to actually create educational content on this. So before I get into the whole spiel, I will be creating content. And that's part of my identity as a cannabis nurse. I really want to make sure people are informed about how cannabis is I'm sorry, I'm getting tripped on my words. How our body digests it and consumes it, and also all the different types of ways you can consume it. Everybody is different, and everybody has, even if you have the same disease process as somebody else, your body is different, and the way you respond to pain is different. So so that's why I don't want to jump into the whole thing, because I really think that there's a bigger discussion to be had with even talking about the basic properties of cannabis, because you have to really look at yourself and decide how you can use this holistically to improve your lifestyle.
Yes, I've known, glaucoma was the thing years ago. People have doctors smoke a joint here and there.
And did you hear recently on the news what else cannabis has been seen to help with? It has been shown to help combat COVID-19, and it actually, so CBD, they saw, so there are two properties, CBD and THC. These are the big cannabinoids that we really pay attention to when it comes to the endocannabinoid system and marijuana. But they saw that CBD, which is the non-psychoactive component, helps the body. It actually helps the body from from COVID-19. Because it's a virus, it's trying to get into our cell. It helps prevent the cell, and it prevents the virus from entering into our cell. So there's a lot of really exciting things to be studied with cannabis.
Wow. Whenever I used to hear about that, it was to, have some fun with, not all the holistic ways to help you, which is
and that's the thing. It's recreational in some states and it's medicinal in other states. And there's just such a wide range of ways to consume. And I really want to make sure that we change the discussion of cannabis, right? Sure, you can use it recreationally, but for the people who really need it, they really need to be informed on the safe ways to use it. So I am currently focusing right now on the beginning parts of my business, but ultimately I do want to connect and make sure that, people are well informed and educated on how to consume responsibly.
Sound like you might have a book you might need to write as well.
Yeah, and
it
is extremely overwhelming to think of all the possibilities with a new business. It is so overwhelming. I can see why why you kind of have to drop everything to really give 100% into it, because it's like I wake up in the morning and I try to organize my day and figure out, what's the best, how do I deal with what's in front of me? That's something that I've really learned being a new business owner.
Yeah, for my podcast show, I'm noticing I have my regular job, 6 to 2:30 p.m. And from at least 2:30 to, let's say, maybe midnight, I'll be doing this. Like sometimes if I say I'm chill, don't look at your phone.
Yeah.
Notifications. You gotta respond, get on, because you gotta be active socially to keep the brand out there.
But how does that affect you mentally after a long day at work?
It's like you just shift gears. Like, okay, I'm a supervisor here. Now you're a CEO here working on this. So if someone hit me up on LinkedIn about, okay, I reached out for them to be a guest, they asked about the show, I might be inboxing with them or might come up with something. Well, I got a little better with the flyers. I learned about Canva. So
yeah, Canva is great, isn't it?
I love a little bit. Came a long way from screenshotting on Facebook, putting it everywhere.
Well, I think you made a really great point, though, is that after work, sometimes you don't feel like, doing that and you turn your phone off, and sometimes we really have to disconnect from social media because it can be really overwhelming. With you running your podcast, with me running my business, sometimes I really do want to just shut my phone off and be like, oh, I don't want to tell anyone how to do anything. I just want to have a day to myself. But
yeah.
And sometimes you do have to do that to really make sure your mental health is in check.
Yeah, I do have at least a good 20 minutes, like 14 notifications. Oh man, what I miss?
Exactly. I can phone grab looking, oh my God, how many people are messaging me, right? It can be a lot. So
So how did you become a traveling nurse?
Oh, wow. So I was working at the Cleveland Clinic main campus. I was in the thick of COVID, and it was really crazy at the time. And the Cleveland Clinic had been sending nurses to different states to help with the COVID surges. So they had sent a team to New York, and I had a friend, Sarah, who went. And then they sent a team to Michigan, and my friend Sam went. And so I called her and asked her about it. And that kind of really got my interest going. I was like, ooh, this is so cool. And so then the third trip that not trip, but this was a emergency response team. So I don't want to say like trip, like it was a trip, but it was an emergency response team. We were going to work and help during the pandemic.
Okay.
They said if anybody wanted to volunteer for Abu Dhabi, that they were taking volunteers. So spur of the moment, heard about it. I was like, you know what? Let me just throw my name in there. I probably won't get it, right? And I put my name in, and I got picked.
Uh-huh.
And within like 3 weeks, 2 weeks, I was gone. And I flew over to Abu Dhabi. I was at Cleveland Clinic Abu Dhabi, and I was on I believe it was a non-COVID floor, but basically what that became was an overflow ICU. So it was still everything had changed in the hospital. And that's the thing about COVID that people don't really understand is that this is affecting non-COVID patients. You know, when hospitals have to switch things up, everyone gets affected. So it felt really great to go to a different hospital and help in that way. And that really encouraged me to start my travel nursing career. So after I got back from Abu Dhabi, I kind of, thought about it, decided I wanted to do it. So I left the Cleveland Clinic to go work in New York City. And so I was working in New York City during their second COVID surge.
Ooh.
So then I was, working COVID, and I finished that contract. And that's when my cousin, her name is Elisa, by the way, my cousin Elisa, who got sick. She became sick while I was in New York. She called me. And so then I decided to go to California to care for her for 2 months. And, I didn't work. I just took care of her for 2 months, got her to her chemo. We were going to chemo twice a week. She was really sick. And that's when I first saw that cannabis was really helping her.
Okay.
And that's when I started looking into it, researching, and I found CanSum. I started doing my research on that. I took the class, and I was really blown away. And after that, I went to Akron, Ohio. After the 2 months I took care of her, I went to Akron, Ohio for a contract, and then I went straight back to LA to help Lisa. So, and then I finished my last contract in Los Angeles. So after that, I decided, Lisa had passed away, and I said, it's now or never. I'm going to take the time to do this now when I have the time, energy, and resources to start my own business, or I'm just never going to do it. And I kind of made her a promise to go for it. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
You do have that moment in time where you got to do something.
Yeah. Anything. Start.
At least to find out you're working on it.
Right.
So, no particular Nurse Jelly.
So that kind of comes from my grandpa. I got to give him credit for that.
Grandpa.
My grandpa is from the South. He lives in Tye, Georgia, and his nickname for me is Jelly May.
Okay.
So when I was younger, we'd say Jelly May. Jelly May. That would be my nickname. So then growing up, I would call myself Jelly. I was a gymnast for 10 years and a diver when I went to college. So when I was in my gymnastics career, people called me Jelly. That was kind of like my nickname. And then I went to college, and I was a springboard diver at the University of Pittsburgh. So people called me Jelly there, and I just kind of took it with me. And in my nursing identity and starting my business, I'm like, why don't I bring that back? This is really about like my identity and what I want to put out there, and I really like nursing.
Cool.
Yeah, I think it's
yeah, absolutely. Definitely a cool name. So what would you say you learned so far starting your business?
Ooh.
Take time.
It takes a lot to run a business. I've learned that I really need to work on my listening skills, And I'm saying that as a nurse. I felt like as a nurse, I was the best listener ever, right? But
Mhm.
I also don't like people telling me what to do.
Okay.
As a nurse, I felt I've been told you're an excellent nurse, right? You're a great nurse, Angelica. So I've heard that before, right? So I'm like, just assume that I'm a good listener because I listen to my patients and I really try to listen to what they need.
Okay.
But when it comes to my business, I think about what I want for my business and not necessarily what I need for my business. So it's been a real learning curve to really try and listen to my friends and family and my boyfriend, and just really even listening to people who um, you have there for advice. So I'm really big on having mentors. I really have grown to like really enjoy having mentors that I go to and ask questions because this kind of forces me to listen more and to really think about if I'm going to really do this and listen to the advice that I'm given, I need to do a pivot, you know? So that's something that I've really learned over the course of like building my business.
And definitely having some other ears and eyes that might see something you might not see can be very helpful to growing your business.
Exactly.
Help
Mhm.
add to it. And we kind of covered a lot of it.
I
Uh,
think you need to, there, the last question I think is
yeah, yeah. Last question. I'll make sure I covered all of
everything. Oh, okay, okay.
it. Yeah, the last question would be, what advice do you have for someone trying to find their purpose?
Whew. Man, also really good question. And I've been actually thinking about since you told me about that question,
Hmm.
it's like the big question that's been in my mind, like that I really want to answer the best way possible because I really want people to go for their goals. Right now, it is such a challenging time to be a nurse. It is so challenging.
Yeah.
And I think what we need to do as nurses, as individuals, and as a profession is really decide what you're going to give to yourself. You know, allow yourself to go after your dreams. That would be my advice to somebody who wants to start their own business. Really think about what you want to do. And when you think you know what you want to do, still think about it because you're going to change your mind. When I first went on this journey
Hmm.
today, I looked at completely different. And my ideas continue to change depending on what's in front of me. And I think that's what really kind of made me come up with the name Angelic Pathway because I wanted people to understand that this is really a journey, right? We are creating the field of cannabis nursing, at least for my profession, but you can do this for any profession. So that's what I would say.
Yeah, I never really heard about what you're doing, which is pretty awesome. That's going to help some people.
Yeah,
And
and I'm hoping that people are interested and want to get involved. And ultimately, what are nurses here for? We're the most trusted profession, but we're really here for patients, right?
Mhm.
Ultimately, what this entire venture is meant to do is to help people at the end of the day. And I think that, there's just a lot of potential for it.
Yeah, I can see it doing big things. Definitely. Shout out to all the nurses across the land because I know y'all was. I know my sister nursing when she was telling me what she experienced. I wanted to go smoke a blunt and get some Parmesan and forget what I heard. Like, that's what you dealt with during when we was in the eye of it. Like, yeah, because you said like y'all are trained in classes if you ever in a pandemic environment, but you'll never deal with it. And then we dealing with it. Like, oh snap, this is woo, y'all superheroes. Because I don't know if I could deal with all that.
Yeah, and a lot of it has to a lot of the things that nurses are dealing with right now is a systemic issue. I've actually joined a group called Impact in Healthcare. They are actually trying to change the laws so that we have patient ratio laws. A lot of the stress that a lot of bedside nurses are dealing with right now is being short-staffed as well. And this is a very, very deep discussion, it's a very detailed discussion, and pretty in depth. So we don't have to get into it, but the mental cost for nurses, the mental health cost is very high. When you see a lot of your patients die all the time from COVID, it takes a toll on your mental health and on your spiritual health.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of moral injury going around happening to nurses right now. This moral injury affects our morale and how we. The way I'll describe it is, it doesn't make me feel like I'm making a difference.
Okay.
That's where the root of it is. And it's a really awful feeling to go to work every day and then come home and feel like I didn't help anybody today.
Okay.
And that's the feeling that we really need to make sure protect nurses from. We need to protect nurses from that feeling, and we need to support them.
So what have you done to combat that feeling when you were dealing with COVID, going to hospitals, working as a nurse?
Well, I didn't for a very long time. I think the most I would do is call my loved ones, and I would talk to them about some of the patients that I would take care of.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them were burned into my mind forever, and I had to be mindful that I didn't want to affect their mental health. So, this is not easy stuff to talk about, and I think that nurses get to the point where they don't want to share because they don't want to put that burden on anyone else. So for a very long time, I was internalizing what I was feeling. And I was in California, I was on contract and I was working. And it just felt like, wow, like we were taking care of COVID patients at the time, and those same feelings came up again. I'm just like, wow, why do I feel anxious? And it was because I had pushed those feelings down from New York just so I could get through the contract and continue without being affected. But I was affected, just I didn't see it at the time.
Okay. Well, I mean, I don't know nothing about the field, but I assume the fact that you're there trying to help in the best way you can did give them some solace, because if you dealing with this and you panicking, you hopefully have someone that's there to try to help you through it.
Yeah,
hopefully you will get better, and if not, at least you do know you're not alone. Because I think that was the biggest thing that a lot of people are dealing with. They couldn't go see loved ones because it was really bad.
It was really bad. Oh my gosh, I'll never forget New York. Like the fact that family members couldn't go in the rooms, like to truly see that, to really see.
I read about it. I can imagine seeing up close.
To see it up close was it was heartbreaking. I think, oh man, yeah, it was heartbreaking. There's just not really words to put into that, and to only have one person come in. I mean, of the whole family, one or two people, was just terrible. But from that experience, I think as nurses, we see what the cost is when we don't have the resources that we need. And I think this is a very important discussion. So thank you so much for talking to me about this, Jeffrey, because a lot of people don't know. They just don't know what's going on. I would really encourage you to look up Impact in Healthcare. They are having a couple of initiatives, and they actually have a, oh shoot, how do I say it? They're having like a campaign, like a sign up for, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I can't think of the word right now. It's escaping.
It'll come to you.
I will send it to you after. we're really just trying to change how things are. It doesn't have to be this way. So I really hope that you look into it.
Oh, yeah, I definitely will.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, my little armchair opinion. No one thought it'd probably be this bad, so it probably wasn't a lot of protocols to okay, this is what we're going to do, this is what we're going to do.
And let me tell you how
bad
scary. It was so scary when COVID first came out. I mean, when we got our first COVID patient ever, I mean, in the hospital.
It was a game changer.
It was like, everyone was like, what? Oh my God. And then all of a sudden, all these things happened, right? All of these events, people getting exposed, people getting sick. Like healthcare workers were getting sick, you know? Healthcare workers have died. I've been to a couple hospitals where they've had a nurse that has passed away from COVID.
Yeah, it got real.
It got very real very quickly. So
my sister all the time, all the nurses across the planet, but that they needed to download, and you know, it was Martin Lawrence on the show. Gotta be a man about. I need to listen. I'm like, ooh, that happened and that. Whoa. But you need to download, need to get off your chest. So you get back up.
And it's really important that nurses do reach out and ask for help. Recently, there was a nurse a week or 2 weeks ago, and I actually wrote his name down because I think his name is Michael, but I have to look it up. There was a nurse that left work in the middle of his shift, and he committed suicide.
Oh no!
That is how intense the work has been. So I really want to encourage people, like if you have a friend that's a nurse, if you are a nurse, like make sure you take care of yourself, take care of that friend, take care of your sister, you know, we're really hurting right now. Things are dire. And I personally just had to step away from bedside to take care of myself, you know. I had to take care of myself, mind, body, and soul. It's been challenging. It's been very challenging.
It's real. Because, I mean, the way she described it, y'all learned about pandemic scenarios, but you never thought you would live it. And it's like the movie Outbreaks, all the movies they make about these scenarios, you actually living it. Like, whoa, that's a lot.
And what's crazy is COVID's not the only thing out there, you know? This one time, they were ruling a patient out for Ebola.
I remember that under President Obama. That was big.
That was the big thing. Well, I remember walking down the hallway and literally someone just yelled, this patient being ruled out for Ebola was being admitted. And the way they admitted the patient is like, they said, Ebola! And like everybody cleared the hallway and like locked the doors, and then they ruled the patient. Luckily, the patient was negative, but like,
yeah, I remember reading about that.
You see it, and it's crazy. So yeah, you would never think that this was. And the question is, as an entrepreneur and as a business owner, how do you navigate this type of world now that the world has changed? And
yeah, it's a different world now.
Yeah, and as a nurse, I really hope to navigate that field and really come up with some like new things that people haven't thought of, you know. So we'll see how it goes.
Definitely a lot of opportunities for therapists to have that demographic, because a lot of them might have PTSD from what they dealt with.
And you know what? When I started my nursing career, I started with PTSD. I had to take a week off from work because my PTSD was so severe and it was affecting my work performance. And when I was working bedside at, 2.5 years, I was looking around and realizing I think everybody has PTSD. Like everyone is literally acting like how I felt when I started my career. And I see a real need for nurses to have PTSD resources because it can be very serious, those symptoms. It can be debilitating.
Absolutely, because once we do get through this and they say breaking news is officially over, now in the aftermath.
Yeah.
Because people live through how they're going to deal going forward.
And the question is, what's the state of our healthcare system going to be when we get through this?
That's an excellent question.
Is it good? I can't tell you. And that's what's scary is I felt very confident in making predictions, but honestly, I have no clue what's going to happen. And I think that's really terrifying because it really leaves the door open for anything to happen. And we don't want that.
Oh, we got a question from a family, Alexandria. How was it going from nursing mindset to business owner mindset?
Oh man, it has been really hard. Even when I think the most challenging part for me is price. I can't even tell you, like, when I'm pricing things, I have an emotional response because as a nurse, I want everything to be free. I want everyone to be happy. Everybody.
Beautiful world. We can get it there.
And you just can't do that, you know? You got to charge money for things. And that's really something I've been stuck on, and I've had to really kind of change my mindset in that department. So I'm getting a little bit better with it, but yeah, that's it. And even just to figure out what I'm going to do for money, that is also something I've been really struggling with, like as a cannabis nurse, because like I said, this is state to state. So everyone's pathway is going to be so different, you know? So
there's no universal like rules with it.
There are standardizations, but because this is cannabis is still Schedule 1, there are there's no evidence. There's no evidence-based practice to even have a system in place. But I will say, you know, when we look at evidence-based practice and we look at Florence Nightingale and how she made her observations, I mean, she made her observations and recorded positive outcomes from interventions. And I think there's a field for cannabis nursing in that department, you know?
Yeah. She said, yes, girl.
Yes.
Yeah. Because I'm learning a lot about this because I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah. And honestly, this is how people learn. You talk. And I'm really passionate about this field. I'm passionate about nursing. And, you know, I have a lot of passions because I've had a lot of different types of experiences. And now that I'm kind of at this weird spot in my life where I'm able to, you know, work on my business and go to school full time, I can really sit down and talk to people about it. So, you know, my channel's always open. Feel free to reach out with any questions. If you have people with questions, listen, just come talk to me. I'm a real person. Like, I'm real. I'm out here. Like, just reach out. And my hope is to really connect people with the educational resources that they need to really figure out what they want, right? Because everybody's needs are different, and I'm really trying to figure out what those needs are, and then also try to guide people to where they really need to go.
That's pretty awesome. So how has this been so far?
There's been a lot of interest, but like the challenges that I've encountered have been more logistical. So this website, I'm going to get it figured out. I promise. It's like, it looks pretty good, but I'm working on it. So we'll see. I'll let you know when I announce it. I will make sure you'll know when it's announced. Okay.
Okay. Well, when I post up the episode from Anchor, I always put now, if you notice, a person website, so they have all the information, send traffic to the person.
Okay. Well, I can give you my Instagram and my Facebook. I have a Facebook group as well if people want a community to be a part of.
What's that?
It's called @Angelic Pathway. So ANGELIK _PATHWAY. That's for both Instagram and for Facebook. So you guys can always find me there. I'm very active on both platforms. And I'm just really excited to kind of get out there and see what the interests are for cannabis nursing. Whether you're a nurse or a medicinal patient or in a recreational state, I just want to make sure that people are informed about their needs for their endocannabinoid system.
You got another question from Alexandra.
Mm-hmm.
Have you received a lot of you're talking about cannabis from the medical community?
Say it one more time.
Have you received a lot of hate and you're talking about cannabis from the medical community?
You know what? I do have one critic so far. Now, I have not put myself out there too much, but my critic is my father. So my father has been, and he's actually a good critic because he's a great debater. I've been debating with him because his so my dad is both my parents are from Brooklyn.
Okay.
And they grew up during the height of war on drugs.
They come from that perspective.
Yes. So they have a very different experience with marijuana in this country and the things that happened to their friends growing up and the fact that people did go to jail and are still in jail for marijuana. There's a lot of negative stigmas as well. So I know that on my journey to really bring out the holistic properties in this field, there's going to be some hate, there's going to be some opposition. People are going to say, you can't do that or you shouldn't do that. I know what I can't do, right? Mm-hmm. You always have to make sure that you're practicing within your scope of practice and that you have the proper certifications to put this information out there and the education out there. But people may not even want that out there, Some people don't even want you even talking about it. And that's just something that, as a young Black woman, I'm just going to have to encounter no matter what I do. Someone's going to have a problem with what I'm doing no matter what I do. So I feel like whatever. Oh, so like I was talking about my dad, I've been practicing, trying to really make my points clear about why I'm doing this and the positive impacts I'm going to make out of it. Because I really do want to make that connection with somebody who may be opposed to it, but I really want people to understand why some people choose it anyways. Even though society is opposed to it, when you are sick and you need relief.
Yeah, you want something. Exactly. I do understand that.
And unfortunately, the opioid epidemic really turned people off to pain medicine. That's a whole different discussion.
Absolutely. Well, we came a long way from with glaucoma. Mm-hmm. That's my boy auntie like, you like smoking weed. No, I got eye problems. Like, nah, you like them green. Well, you be messing with her, but she like, no, see, here's my medical stuff. Like, I'm just playing, I'm just joking with you.
And some people do. Some people do just like consuming every day. It's a holistic lifestyle choice. It's just a matter of making sure that you make that choice for yourself for the best reasons. Everything is in moderation. Nothing is good in excess. I mean, that's just true with everything. And that is true for cannabis as well. And that's what I want people to really understand is just because I'm doing this career does not mean that it's appropriate for everybody. It is not. There are contraindications and, sometimes there are risks. So those risks, in my opinion, are much less than other options, but you can't, this is still a field that is being created, so you have to be kind of that trendsetter in that kind of way.
Yeah, you one of the first ones. So years from now, they're going to be writing about you.
I hope so.
You say after it. I'm learning something about properties, what it can do and all that good stuff. I'm
glad that you're learning something, and I really hope that, what I put out there is valuable for people from all walks of life. That's what I'm really trying to make sure is that this pathway is obviously not for everybody,
Mhm.
but taking care of yourself is for everybody, no matter who you are or where you're from.
That's true. So, it wasn't that scary doing this live?
No, I survived. I survived.
So you about the same as on the
Jeffrey, you've been
audio.
so gracious.
That's why I had a tagline where we treat you like family. Want you to be comfortable to share your story and making strides in your purpose.
Thank you so much for having me. I had a blast. I hope that we can do another live at some point. And maybe we could, catch up at some point and do a little check-in and see how business is going. What do you think?
Hey, I'm down for that.
Hey, all right.
Yeah, I
Let's
do
do it.
Instagram live. I gotta get out here on all of it now. Make sure I'm looking more sweet. And I'm
Yeah,
nice.
I know, right? I gotta get my hair. Listen, I got some fuzzies
It's
here.
getting in ready,
It's okay. Listen, life's rough right now. Get an appointment, you gotta call 2 weeks in advance.
Oh no.
Forget it. Oh my gosh. That's the only thing
Yeah.
about the pandemic. If you don't have an
True.
appointment, forget it. It doesn't even matter what the appointment is for. Just
I got a funny story. So, man, you might make somebody day when we couldn't go nowhere.
mhm.
I got on YouTube. I got some clippers. How do you do this? Now, I went checking the blade, the clipper parts you put on. See,
Uh-huh.
low. Let's just say I cut it all off. Like, well,
Like,
it ain't going
start
nowhere.
over.
What's
It's
going
fine.
on? My wife looked at me like, you like, I want to take that much. I don't want to take it all. Like, you gotta look at the
You
levels
gotta
of.
look at the
I know that I see the barber put things on it, cut my hair. Like,
Yeah, I mean, the pandemic has done that. It has pushed people to really learn how to do things themselves because you can't go to an appointment. So it's,
yeah,
hmm,
that is very true.
it's true. Well, Jeffrey, thank you so much for having me. And I hope that we can catch up again another time.
Absolutely. Well, I gotta send you out right.
Yes, yes.
Special guest, founder, CEO, Angelica Martinez McGee, RN of
Yep.
Angelic Pathway.
hmm
Got it.
That's correct. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And appreciate everybody that was putting amazing comments down there. And
Yes.
Alexandra for the amazing questions.
Yes.
Appreciate all the
Thank you.
support.
Thank
We're
you
gonna
for
keep
the
growing.
support, everybody who's watching.
It's appreciated. Until next time, everybody.
Till next time. Bye.